One rainy morning, with water pouring down in sheets, Lily hurried toward the nearby store. On her way, something caught her eye, a small, drenched figure curled up in a puddle. She stopped instantly and bent down for a closer look. To her surprise, it was a tiny baby monkey, shivering and weak. Lily glanced around, hoping to spot an owner or someone who might know where the animal came from, but the street was empty. Without a second thought, she scooped up the little monkey, its tiny body trembling against her hands. As she held it close, she realized something wasn't right. She couldn't say exactly what was wrong, but she knew the animal was in real trouble. The strangest part was how it even got there. Monkeys weren't native to the U.S., and there weren't any zoos or exotic pet stores nearby. This was the middle of the city, early in the morning. She couldn't understand how no one else had noticed the poor thing lying there, or maybe people had seen it and just walked past. The thought made her heart ache. She carefully lifted the limp, soaked monkey higher, scanning the area again. People bustled by, heads down, trying to get to work. No one seemed to be searching for the animal, and no one gave her more than a passing glance. It was just her and the monkey now. The little creature looked straight into her eyes. Its expression was a mix of fear and worry, but Lily swore she also saw something deeper, almost a plea for help. It was as if the monkey knew she was its only chance. She felt a wave of responsibility settle over her as she realized she had to decide what to do next. The only clear answer was to get the monkey urgent care, and that meant finding a veterinarian. The problem was, Lily didn't own any pets and had no idea where to go. Thankfully, her phone came to the rescue, and with a quick search, she found a clinic not too far away. She wrapped the monkey snugly in her sweater, hoping the warmth would help, and made her way to the bus stop. When the bus arrived, it was already crowded with commuters. As Lily stepped inside, people's eyes immediately landed on the bundle in her arms. Whispers spread quickly, and before long, she was the focus of curious stares. A few strangers even came up, asking why she had a monkey tucked under a blanket. Lily's face burned with nerves. She'd never liked being the center of attention and found it hard to speak to strangers. Still, she stammered out an explanation, that she had found the monkey on the ground and was taking it to the vet. But even after she spoke, the questions didn't stop, and the curious looks stayed fixed on her. People on the bus were almost pushing into each other, trying to get a better look. The monkey, already weak and frightened, grew more unsettled by all the attention. Lily could feel it trembling in her arms and realized she needed to make a choice. The vet was still a couple of stops away, but she decided to get off early and walk the rest of the way. She tried her best to keep the monkey hidden, holding it close and lowering her head, but she wasn't exactly subtle. Anyone watching could tell she was hiding something. To make things harder, the little monkey suddenly started squirming, unhappy with being wrapped in her sweater. It pushed its tiny arms free, wriggling against her grip, and now people could clearly see what she was carrying. Voices rose around her, calling out questions. For a second, Lily wondered why she was even doing this. She could set the monkey down and let someone else take responsibility. It would be so easy to walk away and return to her normal life. But she quickly pushed the thought aside. She'd come too far, and she couldn't just abandon it now. Tightening her hold on the sweater, she walked faster, determined to see this through. Of course, the quicker pace only made her seem more suspicious, and a few people looked ready to follow her. Desperate, she called out that she was taking the monkey to the vet. That seemed to calm them down, at least for the moment. By the time she finally reached the veterinary clinic, she was drained and anxious. This was not how she had expected her morning to turn out. Inside, the air felt calmer. She was greeted by a kind-looking receptionist who asked what she needed and whether she had an appointment. Glancing at the crowded waiting room, Lily felt her stomach sink. It was already full of people with their pets, and she worried she'd have to wait for hours. But there wasn't really another option. So she quickly explained the whole situation and carefully revealed the tiny monkey. The receptionist's eyes widened immediately. Without another word, she hurried into the back to get advice. Lily guessed that the woman had never seen a monkey before, and she was right. It turned out no one in the clinic had ever worked with one. A short while later, a vet appeared and asked Lily to follow him into his office. She was allowed to skip the line, though a few people grumbled. Their annoyance faded once they noticed the unusual patient. Inside the quiet office, the tension was heavy. Dr. Harrow, his face lined with years of experience, stood in front of her. Lily clutched the trembling monkey close as the vet studied it carefully. His expression, usually full of confidence, carried a rare hesitation. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice steady but touched with regret. "I've treated many animals over the years, but never a monkey. They need specialized care, and I'm not equipped for that." Lily's heart dropped. Still, she met his eyes, hoping for something, anything that could help. Seeing her worry, Doctor, Harrow quickly pulled open a desk drawer and flipped through a worn address book. "However," he added, "I can give you the contacts of colleagues who might be able to help." He scribbled a few names and addresses onto clinic letterhead in hurried handwriting, then handed the note to her. Lily accepted the list with a quiet nod, holding on to it as if it were her last thread of hope. Her fingers brushed against the folded paper, feeling the weight of each name written there, a small beacon of hope for the fragile life in her arms. Lily stepped out of the clinic, the list tucked carefully into her pocket. The sting of rejection still lingered, but it had sparked something inside her, a quiet determination that refused to fade. She looked down at the tiny monkey, its wide eyes meeting hers as its little hand curled around her finger. That simple touch felt like a promise, unspoken but strong. With a steadying breath, Lily lifted her chin and moved forward, her resolve firm beneath the restless city sky. The streets stretched out before her, indifferent to the urgency of her mission. People hurried by, wrapped in their own routines, while Lily pressed on with the monkey held close against her chest. Dr. Harrow's words echoed in her mind, a reminder of both the limits she faced and the path still ahead. She scanned street signs and building numbers, her steps quick and deliberate. The monkey's faint heartbeat pressed against her own, the two of them moving in sync as though their futures were tied together. As the city fully woke and carried on with its daily rhythm, Lily's quest had only just begun. She paused for a moment, the paper list in her hand, its names representing slim but precious chances. With the monkey now tucked securely against her, she set off into the concrete maze with a new sense of purpose. Each address was a possibility, each doorway a chance for safety. Her first stop was a modest clinic hidden between tall office blocks. It looked promising enough, and Lily explained her story with hope in her voice. But the vet there shook his head. "I'm sorry, I don't have the facilities or the expertise for exotic animals," he admitted gently. The disappointment in his tone mirrored Lily's own. She thanked him quietly and walked out again, the monkey resting against her arm. The sting of that first rejection was sharp, but she refused to give in. Clinic after clinic, the answers were nearly the same. "We can't help. It's too risky. We're not trained for this." Each refusal landed heavily, adding weight to Lily's burden. Yet the monkey, unaware of these setbacks, only snuggled deeper into the warmth of her sweater. One by one, doors closed, but Lily kept moving. She was becoming the bridge over all the no's, carrying determination where hope was scarce. With each visit, she learned something new. She discovered how fragile exotic animals were, how specialized their care had to be, and how unprepared her city truly was. The knowledge didn't bring a solution, but it gave her a clearer picture of what she was up against. She realized the path ahead was complicated, but she was willing to follow it. Her search stretched into neighborhoods she barely knew, places she'd only heard of in passing. She stopped at small clinics that barely showed up on the city map, sharing her story with vets who offered everything from sympathy to regret. Some tried to help with advice, others admitted helplessness outright. Through it all, the monkey seemed to sense her worry, occasionally peeking out from the sweater with wide, curious eyes, as if asking for reassurance. The longer Lily searched, the wider her circle became. And with it, her understanding of just how vast the city was, filled with countless lives and struggles. As the sun began to sink low, streaking the sky with color, she realized her journey was far from over. The sky was brushed with streaks of orange and purple as Lily reached the end of her list. Around her, the endless streams of people moved like a blur, the city carrying on as though her day's struggle hadn't happened at all. Exhaustion pulled at her, but the small weight in her arms kept her going. It had been a day full of dead ends, yet when she looked into the monkey's trusting eyes, her spirit didn't break. "Tomorrow," she promised silently, "we'll try again." Her body felt heavy, like she was carrying a thick coat of weariness as she stepped into a pet store to buy a few supplies for the monkey. The air smelled of seed and sawdust, and the chatter of caged birds filled the room. She quietly told the clerk about her fruitless search, not expecting anything more than a nod of sympathy. But from the end of the aisle, a voice called out, "Did you say monkey?" Lily turned to see a woman with a bright parrot perched on her shoulder, the bird bobbing its head as though echoing its owner's concern. The woman approached, her eyes sharp with curiosity and care. "I might know someone who can help," she said, pulling a notepad from her bag. With the parrot still shifting along her shoulder, she scribbled down a name and address. Dr. Llewellyn. He's a bit of a maverick, but he's the best with exotics. The name was new to Lily, but it was the most hopeful lead she'd had all day. She gripped the paper tightly, feeling a fresh spark of direction. The parrot squawked as if to approve, its call ringing through the shop like encouragement. When Lily stepped back onto the street, she felt lighter than she had since first finding the monkey. For the first time, the burden on her shoulders eased just a little. The monkey seemed to sense it too, its small body relaxing against her, comforted by her steady hold. Together they set off once more, guided now by the promise of real help. The address led them to the city's edge, where the rush of traffic and crowds gave way to quieter streets and stretches of open sky. The walk was long and fatigue pressed on Lily, but every step carried her closer to the chance of relief for the tiny creature in her care. The city's noise fell behind, replaced by the slower rhythm of the outskirts, and Lily felt as though she was entering another world, one where the monkey might finally be safe. At last, a modest building came into view, its simple sign reading, "Dr. Llewellyn Exotic Animal Care." Against the fading light, the clinic stood like a quiet promise at the edge of the sprawling city. With the evening chill settling in, Lily pulled the blanket tighter around the monkey and stepped toward the door. She paused only to take a deep breath before crossing the threshold, carrying both her fear and her hope into this new chapter. Later, Lily found herself standing outside her friend Jenna's house, the day's story spilling out of her in a rush. Jenna, keys already in hand, didn't hesitate. "Take my car," she said, her voice steady and sure. Lily gently settled the monkey, now wrapped in a fresh blanket, into the back seat, her heart catching at the kindness shown to her. With the animal secure, she started the engine. The road stretched ahead, the city skyline shrinking in the rearview mirror. As the car hummed forward, Lily stole quick glances at the monkey, her resolve stronger than ever. The monkey's eyes peered back at Lily with quiet curiosity. She played soft music as she drove, and to her surprise, the little creature's gentle movements seemed to sway in rhythm with the melody. In the close space of the car, the line between human and animal blurred, replaced by a warm sense of shared presence. At one stoplight, Lily reached back to fix the blanket, and a tiny hand rested against hers. The touch sent a spark through her, a simple but powerful moment of trust. She spoke to the monkey in a gentle voice, and it answered with soft chirps and curious tilts of its head. Each exchange wove another thread into a bond that was already beginning to feel unshakable. During the ride, the monkey's intelligence startled her. When she gave it little puzzles, like shifting objects around, it solved them with surprising care, using its small fingers with precision. It watched her actions closely, copying them with remarkable speed. Its dark eyes shone with awareness and learning, a sharpness Lily hadn't expected. What had started as seeing it as just a responsibility was shifting. The monkey wasn't just a passenger, it was a companion, traveling alongside her through each challenge of the day. When they finally reached the city's edge, where Dr. Leland's clinic stood, relief and anticipation mixed inside Lily. She no longer felt like she was carrying the burden alone. The monkey had shared in her struggles and victories, and now, with it nestled against her chest, she felt courage rising in her. The sun was setting, casting long shadows as she walked to the entrance of the modest building, the sign above the door reading, Dr. Leland Exotic Animal Care. Together they stepped inside, ready to face whatever waited for them. The clinic had a quiet calm, a sense of order that soothed Lily's frayed nerves. Dr. Leland himself was steady and commanding, his eyes revealing years of experience with difficult cases. When his gaze landed on the monkey, it was sharp and exact, filled with the focus of someone who knew what he was doing. Yet, beneath his controlled manner, Lily caught a flicker of concern, unspoken but unmistakable. "With careful hands, Doctor." Leland examined the monkey, his touch both gentle and firm. He moved slowly, checking everything from its damp fur to its tiny curled toes. Lily stood close by, wringing the strap of her bag as she watched, her heart tightening with each passing minute. The furrow of the doctor's brow deepened as he worked, his silence saying more than words ever could. As test after test was done, his face grew more serious, though he gave away nothing. Lily tried to read him, desperate for clues, but his professionalism left her in the dark. Worry gnawed at her, matching the quiet storm she sensed he was holding back. When the monkey was finally carried into the back room for further checks, Lily was left in the waiting area. The ticking of the clinic's clock was almost too loud, every second dragging like a thread in an endless rope of uncertainty. The sharp smell of antiseptic clung to the air as she tapped her foot, her nerves unraveling. Each thud against the floor echoed the anxious beat of her heart. Now and then, Dr. Leland passed through the waiting room, his face unreadable, giving nothing away. The silence stretched on, heavy with questions Lily could not yet answer. Lily searched Dr. Leland's face, desperate for any hint of the monkey's condition, but found none. His expression gave nothing away, though the concern behind his eyes was hard to miss. The air between them was heavy, filled with tension that had no words. Lily felt a tightness in her chest, the strain of not knowing, of standing at the edge of a truth she wasn't yet allowed to hear. In a quiet side room, away from the busyness of the clinic, Lily sat by the monkey. It lay swaddled in a soft blanket on a small examination bed, its fragile breath steady but weak. She stroked its head gently, whispering words of comfort, her voice soft and soothing. In those moments, she stepped fully into the role of caregiver. Her touch became a promise of safety, her presence a constant anchor for the trembling creature. As the hours blended into the rhythm of the clinic, Lily began to absorb everything she could from the staff. She listened carefully about diet, warning signs, and the delicate way to handle the monkey. Each detail wove itself into a growing tapestry of responsibility, knowledge that both empowered and overwhelmed her. Caring for such a fragile life demanded more than she had ever imagined. Each time her eyes met the monkey's, she felt her connection to it deepen. What had started as a mission to save a life was becoming something more, a genuine commitment of the heart. At night, when the monkey whimpered softly, she answered with a quiet lullaby or the calming brush of her hand. What began as a fragile bond had now grown into a quiet, nurturing relationship, an unspoken language of trust and care. But one morning, the fragile peace was broken. The monkey's bright gaze had dimmed, its small body burning with fever and trembling. Panic surged inside Lily, but she pushed it down, forcing calm into her voice as she murmured encouragement, her hand steady on its tiny frame. Dr. Llewellyn moved quickly, his actions precise and urgent, every motion aimed at stabilizing his tiny patient. The room filled with the steady beeping of monitors, a sharp counterpoint to the hushed tension. Lily stayed rooted by the monkey's side, clinging to hope with every passing second. Each minute of survival felt like a small step toward recovery, and she poured her strength into being the calm the animal needed. As the monkey battled its sickness, Lily's resolve only hardened. She became a constant presence in the clinic, her dedication clear to everyone who saw her. No longer just a passerby who stumbled upon an injured creature, she had grown into its guardian, her vow to protect it unwavering. In the dim light of the room, shadows moved across the walls as Lily held her quiet vigil. Deep inside, she made a promise, a silent oath to safeguard this fragile life for as long as it needed her. The vet's office, once a place where Lily clung to hope, became heavy with sorrow as the monkey's condition worsened. Each breath it drew was faint and fragile, a quiet struggle against the weight of illness. Lily stayed by its side through every setback, feeling each one as though it were her own. The lively creature that had once looked at her with bright, intelligent eyes now lay weak and still, its tiny body barely moving. This critical turn tested Lily's resolve. Her days and nights blurred together, her life narrowing to a single purpose, watching over the fragile life in her care. Sleep slipped away, replaced by long hours in the soft glow of the clinic's nightlights. The quiet was broken only by the steady beeps of machines. Lily kept her hand gently on the monkey, a silent message of companionship and comfort through the darkest hours. As time passed, the harsh reality of caring for an exotic animal grew undeniable. The financial burden pressed down as bills mounted from treatments and new medications. Yet even heavier was the emotional strain, the exhausting swing between hope and despair, each small improvement followed by another setback. The weight of uncertainty wore on Lily's once boundless spirit. At last, Dr. Llewellyn, his face marked by long hours and fatigue, sat down with her. "We've done all we can," he said softly. "It might be time to consider a sanctuary, somewhere that can provide long-term care." His words were both a lifeline and a wound, offering the monkey a better chance at survival, but only if Lily could let go. Long after their talk, his words echoed in her mind. She looked down at the monkey's vulnerable eyes, her heart torn in two. The sanctuary meant safety, expert care, and stability. But it also meant separation. The thought of parting felt unbearable. As she stroked its small head, she wrestled with the truth she had tried to avoid. Love alone might not be enough. For now, the monkey's breathing had steadied, no longer teetering so close to the edge. Relief washed through the clinic, but the tension lingered. Stability was precious, yet fragile. Each moment of rest was a gift, shadowed by the fear of how long it would last. Dr. Llewellyn's next conversation was both frank and kind. "You've done more than most ever could," he told her gently. "But the monkey needs care that's beyond what one person can provide." His words confirmed what Lily had already begun to realize. Her devotion, though fierce, could not meet every need. He laid out the options with care. Sanctuaries and specialists equipped for long-term support. Each possibility was like a doorway, opening into a future she hadn't yet dared to picture. Lily sat quietly, her hands folded tight in her lap, listening to the weight of every word. Later, alone with the sleeping monkey, she let the full weight of it all settle over her. The vet's words replayed in her mind like the sound of a closing chapter. Handing the monkey over to a sanctuary felt like surrender, like admitting defeat. Yet, in her heart, she knew it might also be the truest act of love. Wasn't this, too, an act of care? The thought was heavy, but clear. Sometimes love means letting go. Sometimes the best way to hold on is to place someone you love in hands more capable than your own. By morning, Lily had made her decision. She would follow Dr. Lelland's advice and prepare to part with the monkey. With tender care, she packed a small bag, its favorite toys, and the blanket that had kept it warm through so many nights. Each item felt like a memory, a piece of the journey they had shared. Accepting the vet's advice was the hardest choice she had ever faced, but deep down, she knew it was the most loving one for the monkey's future. Before the transfer could be arranged, Dr. Leland called Lily into his office with unexpected urgency. Test results had revealed something startling. The monkey was not just any primate. It belonged to a rare species, one often targeted by traffickers for the illegal pet trade. As he explained, Lily saw the monkey not just as her rescue, but as part of a fragile line, precious and rare. Its presence in the city was both a marvel and a mystery. Dr. Leland spoke of the threats the species faced: shrinking habitats, broken family groups, and the cruelty of capture and transport. Lily's heart ached as she listened. Suddenly, she understood the shock on his face when they had first met and why he had been so cautious. The monkey wasn't just lost, it was a silent cry for help from a species disappearing before the world's eyes. That knowledge changed Lily. Her goal was still the monkey's well-being, but now she felt called to something bigger: preservation. She began researching, reaching out, and learning how she could help fight the illegal trade that had led the monkey to her in the first place. As news spread of the monkey's rarity, the story drew public attention. Animal rights groups, conservationists, and the media came forward, wanting to know more. Lily found herself telling the story again and again: the rainy morning discovery, the desperate search for help, and the long nights of care. What had begun as a private rescue became a public message. The monkey, once unnoticed in a puddle, had become a voice for its entire species. Questions poured in. How had it arrived in the city, and through what hidden channels had it passed? Law enforcement began investigating, while activists pushed the story as an example of why awareness and protection mattered. Lily, though never seeking the spotlight, realized her story could inspire change. The day came when she had to sign the papers, transferring her small companion into the sanctuary's care. The pen felt heavy in her hand, but she signed anyway. Love, she now knew, sometimes meant stepping aside. The sanctuary was a haven, filled with trees and the calls of other primates. Watching the monkey explore this new place, surrounded by its own kind, Lily felt both pain and peace. Her heart ached at the goodbye, but she could see the promise of a better life here. This was the place where the monkey belonged, safe, cared for, and free to grow. The story reached beyond her. The monkey's journey stirred awareness in many, sparking conversations about conservation and the cruelty of the illegal pet trade. Lily found her voice too, sharing her experience at events and through interviews, turning her personal struggle into a call for action. When she finally walked away from the sanctuary, the sounds of the forest followed her. She felt the bittersweet ache of farewell, but also a deep sense of change. The monkey had entered her life as suddenly as a storm, and though their paths were parting, its legacy would live on, in the fight for its species and in every person moved by its story. This was the end of their time together, but not the end of the story they had started. It would continue to unfold in every heart it touched, every action it inspired. If you like this story, please give the video a thumbs up, share it with someone who might be inspired, and don't forget to subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.